but it's certainly starting to pick up of who they're going to select as their guy come August the 30th.
Well, so one thing that caught my attention with this, I know that he didn't really give a quote, and he basically said, I'm excited about both those guys. They've both played really well. They're both done a great job, and they're both working their tails off. They're Georgia football players that love Georgia. It's a non-quote. I got to be honest, as an outsider who's not closely tracking this QB battle, I thought it was just a foregone conclusion that it was Gunnar Stockton. I mean, like, I'm surprised that he's leaving it this open for Puglisi. I would have thought that he would have just been direct in saying, hey, yeah, Gunnar's looking great, and we're really happy with how Ryan Puglisi's been progressing. I still think, and we've talked about this before on the show, we've talked about the underrated talent that Ryan Puglisi has.
Yes.
I think that the underlying message here that wasn't brought up, and maybe I'm doing a little bit too much trying to read into this, Blake, I think that this kind of shows that Puglisi is a lot better than people realize, that he's in contention after 1 year on campus at Georgia, that he is that close in battle right now with Stockton that Kirby will give a non-answer instead of picking someone.
I think he learns from a mentor in Nick and saying that when you have a battle like this, why would he give who the guy is? There's no benefit from a competition standpoint for Kirby to run out there and say who the guy is, because then Ryan Puglisi says, well, what am I doing? You know, I think of QB battles in the past. The only one that I vividly remember coming out and saying who his guy was Sark last year with Quinn Ewers over Arch. You know, like I think of Marcus Freeman as an example. Now, Marcus, unfortunately for Notre Dame fans, doesn't get I don't want to say airtime, Joe, but he's not in a conference like spring meeting where people can put a microphone in front of his face, right? Like, he's not having to decide who his quarterback is. But here's what I want to bring up. Joe, it's Kirby Smart and the coaches and what they feel comfortable with versus the players and what they've seen. Because, Joe, I can pull up Aaron Murray's podcast and him sitting with all the Georgia players, and all of them, Aaron Murray's like, hey, man, who's somebody that really has shown up and y'all were like, damn, this dude's good. Bro, you had 5 defensive players all at the same time in a viral clip come out and say, shit, Ryan Puglisi's a dog. And you're just like, uh-oh. Joe, I think you got a classic coaches feel comfortable with Gunnar Stockton to run what they want to do. I think you have players that are like, shit, this kid Puglisi can play. It's players versus coaches. And you can never trick a locker room, ever. You know why he's being cagey? Because at the end of the day, if this kid Puglisi comes in here and slings it around this fall, then what? Then what? I mean, I think that you're keeping it up. Again, I don't think people put enough weight when players start speaking and they tell you, shit, this dude Ryan Puglisi's a dog. By the way, in an open-ended question, they could have said anybody on that roster. Of all the 5 stars that are on that roster, they could have said anybody. Why go to Ryan Puglisi? Well, Joe, I think he's probably on scout team against a really good defense. And he's carving them up every week, and they're like, shit, dude, this kid can play. That's where I think that they're at here. Now, I don't think it's fair, for what it's worth, to just completely rule out Gunnar Stockton. Joey went up against a team that played for a national title in Notre Dame with a really good defense. And we're supposed to sit here and say, hey, man, this kid is done with. We've seen everything that we need to see. I don't think that's fair to him. But I will say, I don't know if Gunnar Stockton, based off of what we've seen so far in 2 games, will be able to throw the ball enough and accurately enough to get them where they ultimately want to go. That's where I sit with Gunnar Stockton. Maybe he can, and I hope that he proves me wrong. But you have a guy in Ryan Puglisi who you know who's got the arm and has got the athleticism that can lead them to where they need to go. Again, I will remind everybody, and forget him being a walk-on. What did they do when they won their national titles with their quarterback in Stetson Bennett? Joe, he wasn't the biggest. He wasn't the strongest. He was deadly accurate in moments, and, man, the kid can move a little bit. I think that is – I just don't know if I have enough faith right now to even and I don't know if Kirby does based off of what we're reading, to come out here and say, hey, man, this kid's got it. Because if it was a foregone conclusion, I don't think Kirby would have batted an eye. Maybe Puglisi can win it.
I think that just ultimately what catches my attention with this, and you just mentioned Gunnar Stockton's performance and where he stepped in. It's not like Stockton stepped in the middle of the year. He played in the SEC championship game. He helped keep them alive in the SEC championship game for them to win it. And he played
won the game for him. He won the game for him.
Yeah. He played well, but not great against Notre Dame in the college football playoff. Kind of got sold out. It wasn't all his fault for them losing. Didn't have a great performance, had the turnover that he had. Could have played like a little bit better. But you saw in that small sample size of those two games, that half and one game, of what he was capable of being, which is on time, on target, offense moving forward, and being elusive because he's ballsy and he's willing to escape the pocket, unlike what Carson Beck was doing. But I think just generally like having that and seeing what he accomplished with no prep time, no like opportunity to like get into a rhythm with that small sample size, we're still sitting here talking about a guy that nobody knows anything about. And I think it goes in line with the fact that Jaden Rashada left. Jaden Rashada saw the writing on the wall. Jaden Rashada was a highly recruited kid, just like Puglisi, who was a year older than him, and realized, I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my time here. This doesn't make sense. I'm not going to. It is clearly Puglisi who is moving ahead of him. I think that Puglisi continues to move in silence and is going to continue to surprise people. Regardless of who starts, I hope that they're incredibly aggressive about making sure Puglisi comes back, because he could end up doing some brilliant things for them whenever he does start. I'm kind of rooting for him to start this year because I want to see what he's like and I want to see what he brings to the table.
I do think Kirby likes to go with upperclassmen, but I want to bring this up to you. There were rumors, that flew around all offseason that if Sam Levitt got in the portal, if Avery Johnson got in the portal, that Georgia might finally, from a money aspect and a recruiting aspect in the portal, make a move. Well, that didn't happen. So I don't really like basing things off a rumor, but those rumors were out there. Who knows if they're true or not? I do look at a situation, though, with Gunnar Stockton and say that whole Notre Dame game is not on him. He didn't have time. His offensive line did not give him any help. And Joey was under immense pressure. And I think that you just had a situation. I mean, the kid's first start was a team that was peaking in a playoff type scenario. By the way, you have a bad incident in New Orleans, which God bless the great people of New Orleans, but you have a terrorist attack. Kirby Smart's dad dies. I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses for Georgia here, but it's not like that this kid had a bunch of favors going in his area in reference to what he needed to do. But Joe, by the way, Georgia went out there in the portal and said to you that they did not trust their receiving core. They went and got Noah Thomas. They went and got Zachariah Brandt.
We saw that in that playoff game that there were
Dylan Bell dropping a massive pass. Yeah. I mean, so for everything that we make about Gunnar Stockton here, by your actions, you showed that you did not trust your receiving core, and your offensive line, we saw with our own eyes, could not stop a bleeding nose with a tampon. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. The last thing I'll say on Gunnar Stockton, though, man, your boy from Texas, the safety that I love so much. Remind me.
Makuba.
Brother laid into him, and he popped right back up. I love, Joe, I can't tell you. This is why we love football. I can't tell you how much I love the kid with the game on the line taking a hit like that to sacrifice for his team and pops right back up. Those are things that win games, but those are things that also win locker rooms. And I think that goes unmissed. This kid's not going to lay down. So you have a real strong battle here. Let the best man win. Yeah. So Kirby coming out there saying, hey, man, everybody's looking good. Good for him. Good for him.
No, I think that there's a lot of factors here that come into play. And I think you just brought up maybe the most important one. He was willing to put his body on the line in a situation where they literally just lost their quarterback to another injury. Like, he was willing to just completely throw himself out there, and they won the game because of it. So maybe that's enough to carry him winning this job, that everybody just rallies around him. But we'll see, man. I'm just very intrigued by this. I always assumed it was Gunnar Stockton. Like, I just blindly assumed that, like, maybe Puglisi could do something. A non-quote carries more weight than people realize if we're willing to read into it.
Well, and two, let's throw this out there. Who did he learn from? Who did he learn from?
Saban. Learn from Saban.
As someone who covered that son of a gun, A.J. McCarron came out of nowhere for some. He came out of nowhere for some.
Yeah.
So, again, it's not as if look, by the way, people better stop pissing off Kirby. Y'all better stop pissing him off, because everybody else is going to take the brunt of that shit, and I don't want to be a part of it. So y'all stop pissing him off. But you're right. A non-quote can speak